Welcome back, Rehab Addicts. Today we're going to go through ball release for the hip. This is an amazing exercise to deal with the little areas in your hip where there's scar tissue buildup. Why do we do ball release?
We used to use a stick, remember?
Yeah, and what happened?
It was bad for business, man.
Nobody came back.
No one.
You can use a lot of different apparatuses. I've seen people use rocks, people use foam rollers, travel rollers. We use the ball. Why do we use the ball?
Because it's cheap.
Yeah, it's readily available.
And it's effective.
Yeah. There's three different types of balls that we typically use. There's a soft, bouncy ball that we use. These things are $1 at your local Walmart or grocery store. We give out about $400 or $500, 400 or 500 of them in a year. There's also a dense lacrosse ball. That's an advanced ball. That thing is like a rock. So you got to work your way up into that. And then we tend to use bigger black balls. These balls are traditionally used as more of a fascial tug, but that'll be another video. But for right now, focus just on the small balls, just like Hayden. All right. Moving forward, we break the hip down into 4 different spots, okay? There's the front of the hip, then there's the lateral hip, and then there's the posterior hip. I like to think of them like decks of cards. The front deck of cards sits just forward of the seam of your pants. The lateral deck of cards sits directly on your pants, and then the posterior one sits back of that seam of your pants. The fourth area of that is the meat of your glute. I'm not going to touch this. I don't know where it's been, but you're thinking about this area. This area requires a little bit more knowledge than the other areas because of the sciatic nerve. The sciatic nerve is the densest, most nerve that pops out of your glute, really centrally in there, and travels down the back of your leg. The problem with treating the posterior glute here with a ball is people tend to do ball release right on the nerve. The nerve doesn't like that. The nerve doesn't want to get beat up. That's not the point. So when you do ball release in the meaty area of your glute, you're really thinking about getting that ball butted up, no pun intended there, right into the sciatic nerve, and you're trying to push the sciatic nerve away. That'll decrease some of the adhesions that the sciatic nerve traditionally gets because we sit on our
asses,
our
butts,
all day long. So without further ado, let's have Hayden demonstrate a couple of the actual exercises or the ball work for the hip. The first part that we're going to go through is the anterior hip. When you're doing the anterior hip, you're putting it right into the front and going up against the wall. Now, when you do this, the ball should technically be really forward. His body's at a bit of a 45-degree angle, and he's just sort of mashing his body right into that ball. You'll notice his foot position, his back leg is far out, and what it's allowing him to do is put some pretty good pressure in there. If that's too sore, bring your feet closer to the wall, and then you can slowly work your way back out there. A little add-on technique when you're doing this in the front and the lateral aspects of your hips is if you bring this leg forward, that softens the glute. It allows the ball to penetrate in a little bit further. The glute musculature is 3 muscles deep, so sometimes you need to be able to do that to get to the pain spot. As you're doing this, if you're feeling some radiating or referred pain down your leg and that's reproducing your daily or nightly symptoms, then you're probably on the right spot. Where do we do ball release typically?
on the front of the hip,
On the front of the hip,
the side of the hip, the back of the hip,
and the meat.
and the meat.
But ultimately, you're doing ball release where it hurts. It's that simple. Where you feel pain on a traditional day is where you want to do this. There's variations on this. He's right now working in the back of his hip. He's at a 45-degree angle, and he's in there, and he's tugging, and he's pulling, the sore spot. You're going to spend about 3 to 5 minutes in the areas that hurt you, or if you really want to be a hip all-star, you're going to work all of them. And that's going to give you the hip mobility that you need moving forward. If I can demonstrate that's what an appropriate ball release is for the hip. If we use Hayden's forearm here, really old school ball release, or the stuff we see with foam roller stuff all day long, is just back and forth. It's just sort of this rolling over. That really doesn't do anything. We care about fascia. Fascia is the covering over the muscle. It encapsulates everything. This is very 2017. You dive the ball into the area and then you tug it. And it doesn't matter what direction you tug it. You could tug it forward, back, side, left, right, in a star pattern. Wherever you tug it, if you get an increase in discomfort, that means you're actually doing the right thing. So that's what we really want to do. Alternate to the wall for advanced people is doing it on the floor. Why do we do it on the floor?
Because the floor is hard.
The floor is hard. There's more pressure per square inch when you're putting your body weight onto the floor. And a point worth emphasizing here is when you're doing it on the floor, take a deep breath, let your breath out, and fall into the pain. Too many people guard, and if you're guarding all the time and you just keep guarding, then go down to a softer ball and come off of the lacrosse ball. The key to this is a slow and steady tug. You're thinking about 3 to 5 minutes per area, or
You know what? For the rest of your life, probably.
you're doing it for the rest of your life for sure. This is what keeps your hip going, along with some of the basic and advanced hip stretching exercises that we've gone through already. Moving forward, I want you guys to not feel a significant amount of pain with this. If you're getting way too much pain, you need to back out of it, reassess, come back at it in a couple days, and go with maybe a lighter ball. Get addicted to this stuff, people. We're addicted to it.
I'm addicted.
We're addicted. You're addicted. We are definitely addicted to this stuff. Do it as often as you possibly can, and we'll be back next week with another advanced video to give you more tips on how to actually manage your hips moving forward. And
That's it.
that's it. Like us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and we are out.
Subscribe, people.